Okay, so let's get started. We know that 1 p.m. is a strange hour for, at least for French people. In general, it's lunchtime for at least 1 hour, but we will let people in little by little. And we are happy to welcome you today for this session on outcome, so social performance management and outcomes measurement and management. Where do we stand? So it's the first session of the afternoon, but if you like the subject of outcomes, you have the full afternoon on outcomes. So we will get started today with David and Njiru from Juhudi Kilimo and Arthur Sletteberg from Abler Nordic. So we will discuss, where do we stand, how we have been working with investors and financial service provider, in particular on some working groups, outcome working groups from the SPTF, Social Performance Task Force, and outcome working groups with the investor here at the European Microfinance platform level. We have been working for many years on those topics, so it's nice to also have a very concrete example now from asset managers and financial service providers, and how the dialogue around outcome measurement and management can help take informed decision. So happy to be with both of you, David and Arthur. And let's get started. People will come little by little, and hopefully we have a little bit of time also at the end to discuss. And for sure, there are other sessions. So the objective of this specific session is to summarize a little bit the work that has been done by the investors and by the financial service providers on outcome management in the framework of e-MFP and Cerise+SPTF action groups. And we will share concrete examples from one FSP and one of their investors on the value chain of outcome management. I think we have been discussing on how we should align the expectations so that it makes sense for at the different levels of the chain. And as we said, this is the first session of the afternoon, of the outcome afternoon. There is another session just after on the power of the client voice, using survey data to understand and improve clients' lives with experience from Oikocredit and their investees. And then at the end of the afternoon, there is a session with CGAP, rethinking financial inclusion impact measurement collectively. So you see that there is this willingness at the platform level and on the different stakeholders to collectively think about what can be and how can we do outcome management. So maybe just for all of us to be on the same page, few words, keywords to start with, because sometimes we don't talk exactly about the same thing. When we talk about outcome measurement and management, we are trying to understand and collect data on the changes at the customer level. We are not talking about impact. We are not necessarily trying to attribute the changes to the actions of the financial service provider, but at least understanding what are the changes, not just how many loans have been provided, how many savings accounts have been opened, what is the amount on the savings account, but what are the changes at the customer level. And why are we working now for many years on outcome management is that we see more demand for accountability from the financial service providers, from the impact investors who need to prove that they are in line, that there is a coherence with their impact strategy, theory of change, whatever the word that we use, but what is the social strategy? How do you, as a financial provider or an asset manager, do you implement it, and can you have targets? And also we see more and more evidence of the value of data-driven decision-making. We have seen this during the COVID period, having rapid surveys on the clients to understand what are the changes for the clients made the financial service provider and their investors much more agile on how to manage the crisis. And in this world of multi-crisis, it's nice to be able to be agile. So it's also how we can make decision based on client data. So what to measure? What we have been working with the Investor Action Group and SPTF, Cerise+SPTF SDG Lab is really trying to come up with a set of standard indicators to simplify the work of the financial service provider, to align expectation, and that will be discussed. And the SDG framework, the Sustainable Development Goals, has appeared as a good framework to talk a common language. It's not necessarily the common language of every actor, but at least when we talk about SDG 1 and target 1.5 on reaching the vulnerable with microfinance or financial service, we can all align on trying to contribute to this target at the target level. When we talk about gender equality and we have financial service provider focusing on women, we can find a common ground and a common language to see what is the contribution to the SDG. But if we don't want to be on the rainbow washing stage, we need to have concrete data on what has been done. And how to do that? We have seen, and yesterday on the Investor Action Group, we have seen a wide range of approaches. That does not mean that it's inefficient or that we should have one standard in terms of methodology. We have seen Grameen Crédit Agricole or Oikocredit or other using external or internal data collector. We have seen in-depth quantitative analysis or lean data with 60 decibel. We have seen focus group discussion. On Friday, there is a discussion also on diaries. So we have plenty of methods, but what we have seen is that we need to combine data, not to work on silo, and trying to align along the value chain of asset owners, asset manager, financial service provider, and end customers. So that was just to set up the scene on where do we stand, what we have been working on, and we are working with different partners. So of course we have exchange with 60 decibel, with MFR on how to produce standard outcome indicators. We exchange with CGAP, who is working also on what are the proof of impact and what should we measure. What have we done so far on this LabODD SDG Lab working group? There is a brief that has been produced by e-MFP on outcome management for financial service providers, a proposed standard framework aligned with the SDG. So we have mapped plenty of questionnaires, 60 decibel, MFR, and other, but also what the IPA has been produced, what are the standards indicators from IRES+, and what are the investor reporting on their impact report, to see what were some common themes, to have very practical oriented questionnaire. So now we have a standard questionnaire for outcome management that is pilot tested by different organizations, and which could be a public good to any stakeholder interested in collecting outcome data, but which is aligned with what service provider will do with data collection, external service providers, or with internal assessment by financial service provider, for example. And the idea is to align those questionnaires with the theory of change of financial inclusion. So that's why also the research work by CGAP will be useful, and align with the SDGs. In particular, reaching the vulnerable and SDG target 1.4, SDG 5 on gender equality, and SDG 5 on economic development and growth. And then we will work also on environment. So for next year, the group will continue to work on SDG 13 and SDG 15 on environment. And from this, we have come out with a standard set of indicators. And for those of you who know SPI Online, so the social audit tools that have been developed by Cerise+SPTF, the idea is also to have standard dashboard in those tools so that whatever the way financial service provider have collected information internally with 60 decibel, with MFR, with a local consultant, they have a standard set of indicators that they can report on and have a standard dashboard that they can compare over time, do some analysis with, and make informed decision driven by customer data. So it's too small, so I'll share the slides for those of you who are interested. I'm sure they will be on the presentation by the European Microfinance Week. But we have worked with some organization, for example, to summarize some information that they got from their surveys by SDG target to see, okay, from the classical indicators that are collected, what do we see, what are the trends, how to segment by gender, by age, by region, by product, by branches, so that then the organization with simple data and not necessarily randomized control trial can take and make informed decision on SDG 1. So here, for example, is the sources of income. And yesterday on the presentation by Rubix, we were also seeing how to analyze transactional data to use some of the information in terms of target 1.4, reaching the vulnerable. One of the classical questions is, are you are you a borrower for the first time or a saver for the first time? And I think on Juhudi Kilimo, for example, you track this information to check financial inclusion, and then you can segment by gender also. What do you do for gender inclusion, for women inclusion, for example? So those are examples. I won't go into details because I think you don't really see, but it will be available. But that's the idea also of summarizing the information on standard dashboards that can be used to take informed decision. But this is a general overview, and then we can maybe see directly from Juhudi Kilimo what has been done in Kenya. So David, I give you the floor.
Yeah. Thank you, Cécile. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Juhudi Kilimo. Juhudi Kilimo is a microfinance institution based in Kenya, in Africa. We are headquartered in Nairobi. This is an institution that was started way back in 2004. It was a department in Kenya Development Agency. In 2009, it became an institution on its own with a separate board and management. And from there, it became, a microfinance, a credit-only microfinance focused on mostly rural smallholder farmers, but for profit. So from then, Juhudi has been growing to where it is today. As it is today, our shareholders, we have three main shareholders. We have Abler Nordic, we have Incofin, and we have Acumen that are very supportive, especially in our outcomes measurement journey. And I can't fail to mention at this point also SPTF and Cerise. They have really worked with us the journey of outcome measurements, and we are really grateful. Our mission is to improve the livelihoods of rural smallholder farmers and micro entrepreneurs by providing them with wealth creating financial solutions. And our vision is to be the leading provider of transformative financial solutions to rural smallholder farmers in East Africa. Unlike other microfinance institutions who just offer working capital to customers, Juhudi Kilimo is very passionate in offering solutions that give customers an immediate impact on their incomes. So we try to focus on giving customers possibly a loan that will give them an asset, or that will help in their agri-venture, that will give them immediate incomes and to change their lives basically, because we don't want just to do business as usual, just like everybody else. Moving on the numbers. Sorry. 70% of our customers are women. And we have a total of 71,000 active customers at the moment, 85,000 loans, and our average loan size is $263 US. Our branch network currently is 52. We have 52 branches in Kenya, which are located in 33 counties out of 47. And we have a total of 419 staff. Our total loan book at the moment is $16.5 million US. So far, Juhudi has impacted about 700,000 households, and 94% from the recent 60 decibel survey, 94% of our customers have reported that their lives have greatly improved. And we also look at, like Cécile said, we really check on our targeting, and our customers, they are, in Kenya, we have the poverty index of 47% of the population is below the poverty line. They earn less than $3.2 a day. So Juhudi Kilimo's clientele is, we have 48% of our new customers earning below $3.2 a day. Thank you. Moving on again to outcomes measurement. Yes, I would say Juhudi started this journey, I think, in 2019. That's when we started really aligning ourselves and ensuring that we align to impact measurement or outcomes measurement. And first of all, we formed what is called the SPM committee in 2019. And that SPM committee is charged by the board and the management to look at how Juhudi is doing at on outcomes and impact to its customers. So one thing that has happened at Juhudi, as we measure our impact on clients, it has helped us remain very well aligned to our mission. And one way this has happened is that we keep checking. For example, we keep checking what percentage of our customers are rural smallholder farmers. For example, if you look at our recent data, we are talking of 84% of our customers are rural smallholder farmers. So it helps us not to have a mission drift. Every time we have to check, are we still serving the rural smallholder farmers? The second importance of outcomes measurement to us as Juhudi Kilimo is that our products, we keep checking whether our products are really customer centered. And one thing that we do, we keep doing surveys with our clients. Every 2 years, we have to do a survey externally by an external entity every 2 years. But also internally, right now, what you're doing is we have 2 touch points, basically 2 touch points, whereby we do a survey. We send a 2-way SMS survey to our customers anytime they are taking a loan. So they give us feedback on the experience on how the loan process was and whether the loan is relevant to them. Then the second touch point is when the customers are finishing their loan. When they pay their last installment, we are sending a 2-way SMS again that customers now tell us whether that loan was relevant to them. What do they think about our processes, and what else would they want us to do? So it has helped us. The outcomes measurement has helped us. First of all, to get feedback from the customers, align our products to the customers' needs, and also tell us whether we are still relevant in the market and what is it that we need to do. The other thing is that the outcomes measurement helps us to report to the shareholders and funders by demonstrating the impact of our loans and then financial services at customer level. So like for Juhudi, because we are very determined to ensure that we improve the customers' incomes. We want to see a change in the customers' income. So how we do that is that when you're onboarding customers, we get their data and their incomes, the household income at that point, and even the number of dependents. We get a lot of PPI data at that point. Anytime also they're doing a loan application, we also get data, again, on their incomes. So what we do is we compare. Now, at entry, this was the income for the household. And then when they're taking a first loan, we have that data. When they're coming for a repeat loan, a second or third loan, Now we keep getting that data. We do appraisals, loan appraisals. That includes now all these aspects of the customer's incomes. So we keep now comparing. We keep comparing. Where are you now when you're in your second loan or third loan, compared to when you joined or when you onboarded you into our program. And therefore, that way we are able to demonstrate that our customers' incomes has changed over time with subsequent loans. And therefore, that's why you can see again that we have 81% of our customers whose incomes have increased since they joined Juhudi Kilimo. We may not, of course, say entirely it was courtesy of our loan, but I think to a great extent because these customers, again, like you say, around 64% of them, they are joining Juhudi as the first formal financial institution. That's what about financial inclusion. So most of them, again, have not had experiences with other financial institutions. And even as they continue working with us, they have not had interactions with other financial institutions. So we can say, basically, most of them, their improvement in income is courtesy of what we do with them. This is, again, validated by our own data. And again, like I've said again, like recently we did a survey with 60 decibels that also again gives us the same value. And so we're very excited to see 60 decibels is giving us exactly the same index that we are getting from our own MIS data. Yeah, thank you. So like again, another impact that we are able to demonstrate to our shareholders, again, it's like the clean energy products we do. The numbers here don't just mean loans. When we say we have given 10,620 households clean energy products and drinkable water solutions, because we have partnered with so many other partners in Kenya to provide water tanks for water harvesting solutions, to provide our customers with energy-saving jikos or cook stoves. We have also partnered with others to provide our customers with solar lighting solutions. We have partnered with Nasava to give our customers a water purifier, which costs about Kenya shillings 5,000 shillings. That's about $50 or thereabout. So we are able to change customers' lives. You can see that these products, when they get to the household, their lives really change. Maybe their children were not able to stand at night. You see, their children now can be able to do their studies at night. They're able to write their homes. If it's cooking, it becomes clean, it becomes faster, and they save on fuel. Like firewood is very commonly used in Kenya, again, by rural populations. So you're able to see that, again, you are saving on deforestation. And that way, again, we are able to demonstrate to our shareholders and stakeholders that really we have an impact. So especially on the clean energy and the water solutions and purifying solutions, it's not just about numbers. That's actually direct impact. So thank you. To move on again, on the challenges for the outcomes. Sorry. Yeah, on the challenges in outcomes measurements. Yeah, I think we have had some challenges. One of them is the data collection. Because like now you're able to get, like I've said again, 70%, of our customers are women. Yeah, we're able to say these customers, 80% of our customers have improved their lives, or they have improved their earnings since they joined Juhudi with subsequent loans. But initially, it has not been easy to align that system. And I know, like the last 1 year also, we did a lot of work with Cerise+SPTF to align our MIS system, our core banking system, so that it can give us the data, also to get also like the purpose for loans, like what customers are using the loan for, to be able to get exactly the use of the loan. So I think it has not been an easy journey. Yeah, it has been quite challenging to align. You need to deploy resources. Another challenge is capacity building, training staff. First of all, at IT department, you need to align people. People need to understand what exactly you're doing. The field, again, our frontline staff, at the branch level, they need to understand why we must capture this data collectively. So capacity building has been quite challenging. And one way, again, to overcome this has been to what we are doing now. We are trying to disaggregate even the NPS score, or even customer core brains, or even the SEPM dashboard. We disaggregate per branch so that, again, the staff can be able to use that data that they input when they are doing appraisals for customers. They can be able to see an output in form of a report that they can consume at the branch and make it a little bit competitive going forward. And I believe, again, they'll find a lot of use in that, and they'll be able to give us better data going forward. The other thing is that another big challenge is our funders, or our investors. They keep giving us different templates, you know. This funder wants this kind of set of data, you know. As much as we have our own dashboard, or we have our own reporting template for Juhudi, but our funders keep asking for different information in different formats, and sometimes it becomes very, very, very challenging. And I know Cécile and LabODD and everybody, you've been trying to come up with some standardized ways, but I think it has been quite challenging, because sometimes you find that because of so many partners that you're working with, you have to really deploy some resources to do that. Yeah, sometimes it becomes a full time for an officer at the head office to keep doing those reports. So basically, those are some of the challenges that we face. Thank you. I think that would mark the end of who Juhudi is. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I think it's a very concrete and enlightening experience. What we have forgot to mention is that David is the head of the SEPM committee in Juhudi Kilimo, so it's why also it's moving forward, because there is plenty of energy to support this work at Juhudi Kilimo level, and that's one of the core aspect also that I think is very valuable on at Juhudi Kilimo. And I think what I really appreciate is what you share of the entry points. You have different entry points. You have the 3-year external surveys, but different level where you can capture information, and how you try and combine this information from the MIS, but also from the surveys. And I think we have also on our value chain, we have also another level that you have mentioned is the branch. We have the asset owner, the asset manager, the financial service provider, headquarters, the branches, and the end customers. And I think it's very nice also to see how you have tried to give information back to the branches so that they also can make informed decision at the branch level. Unless there are points of clarification, maybe we can go through the presentation by Arthur, and then we can discuss. Arthur,
Okay,
do you
yes.
want to? So I'm just.
You use that, and I'll follow.
Let's just. Okay. Here we are.
Yes, let's. My name is Arthur. I'm the CEO of Abler Nordic, and just one slide about who we are, because many might not be aware of us. And then 3 slides of what we are trying to achieve together with David and his colleagues at Juhudi Kilimo. Let me first add that the ones who are responsible for our work in this area is Lone, our impact officer based in Copenhagen. And many of you might have been in touch with her, and she is very responsive, I think, and eager to contribute here. And I'm also joined today with Alessia, our communications manager. If I get afterwards some complicated questions, I might very quickly refer to Alessia, who is very much into the details. But first, a little about Abler Nordic. We are a public-private partnership based in Oslo, in Norway. We are, for all practical purposes, a Danish-Norwegian company. And as you might know, in spite of the, we have problems sometimes when you play football matches with Swedes and Danes. Apart from that, up north, we are really good at cooperating, I think. So that's a great union we are having with a total of only 9 investors 5 of them are also owners at us, and they have been a very stable group for some long time. And as you can see here at the upper right, we have roughly $350 million under management. That is not massive, but it's increasing very regularly. And now we are just fundraising for a newest fund. I think all the existing investors will join in again, and we'll recruit a handful, 2-3 new ones to our little close-knit community. It's close-knit with respect to investors and owners. It's close-knit also with respect to investees, because we have less than 20 companies that we have invested in. The bulk of them are equity investments. Juhudi Kilimo, actually, David, I think the biggest ownership stake anywhere we have at Juhudi would close to 40%. So we tend to be a large minority investor. And it's part of the story why we have been able to mobilize again and again our old investors, is that we are demonstrating to a certain extent that we are achieving, that there are some impact consequences here. And we try to be quick because we have a very alert group of investors. We try to be quick and not beat around the bush in this area, but start to demonstrate impact before they really demand it from us. And they like what they see. So we have the way we have been walking from showing outreach, the number of female clients, etc., and clients in general, to demonstrating impact might not be that radical, but we're moving quite quickly ahead, I think. And without cooperation with our investees, that would not be possible. And again, that's only possible because we have only a relatively low number of investees. So, I mean, as you know, when you demonstrate, when you have outreach data, I mean, it seems reasonable, and if you help females, that some good will come out of it, more good than maybe if you help men. It's plausible, right? But we want to demonstrate actually that it happens. So that's the crux of the matter as we see it, and or else we couldn't be sure that we see the impact that we are after. So the 3 challenges we have listed here is that acquiring data for all our investees. I mean, we feel with David and others when we see that burden of reporting they are faced with, some of them. So it's a struggle to acquire relevant data, and we have also been challenged by our owners that we don't aggregate them. And that's true because we have traditionally been so micro-focused. We have been so focused on cooperating with, let's say, Juhudi Kilimo, and find out where they stand, what the challenges are at Juhudi Kilimo. It might be something completely different from a company like Svasti in India, or RGVN, or Binarta in Indonesia. So we always adapt what we are doing to the context on the ground. So that is something I guess it's possible to do when you have only 18 investees. When you have like 600, it's not possible. And we don't blame people who are in that situation. We would also much like to be bigger. But when we are where we are, we can design or face the specific issues that are peculiar to you and not to Kenya women, for instance. So, but we need to aggregate. That is also requested from us, and that's a challenge. And then the second issue, context. What is a good result? I think one of the panel participants earlier today, also several actually, have been pointing out what is good compared to what. So almost it's a big issue, right? And the third one is how to prioritize and the resources for the investees and for us alike. And maybe this is like we have a Norwegian term, swearing in the church. I don't know if it's in English, but you know what it means. There are some things we certainly won't do, that we won't burden our industries with. I mean, this is probably controversial, but we would never ask Juhudi Kilimo to count the CO2 emissions of their clients. Personally, I think when you consider the fact that Africa, at least the southern part of south of Sahara, is responsible for 2% of the climate gas emissions. And you can imagine how much of that does low-income households or poor people represent. It's nothing, it's peanuts. Should we harass David and his go around and count the CO2 emissions? I mean, our African friends are completely innocent in this affair. I mean, I think it's a disgrace, I think. So that's, and I know it's just not, I'm not being diplomatic now, but that is an example of things we don't do.
Things must be said.
We don't do that, right? But we are dead against corruption. We want to check that. I think it's a tragedy for many countries. So you need to be selective with respect to what you ask for. So that was the first slide. So okay, it's only.
Yeah, sorry.
So numbers and not assumptions about something that is working is what we are after here, of course. And so we have these measurable targets, which are linked to our theory of change. And the relevant SDGs that you touched upon, and we're tracking it, whether we are fulfilling our mission in that respect. And the targets we set here, the point is that they hugely influence what we invest in, firstly, and secondly, how we work with investees. And I think, David, you can confirm that we work on this together, right?
Yes, sure.
And every year we try to set realistic targets, not only on the financial side, but also on this side. And we need to agree upon them, and it can't be only all our ambitions. It needs to be something that we agree upon that is achievable and makes sense to achieve. The data we collect needs to be, as you have written here, Alessia, actionable. We need to be the kind of data that we can monitor progress against and do something about, right? I worked for another company once, and it turned out they collect a lot of data, very interesting data, but they were complicated to collect. And basically, when they were collected, that institution I worked at didn't do anything with it. You know, and it was an enormous amount of labor involved for the investees to produce this data. What did they do? Well, people are ingenious. Some pretended that they hadn't got the request from us about this data, right? So they didn't respond. And it was a terrible affair to scream and yell until they came up with some data. And then, of course, we found out that someone had constructed those numbers. They didn't have them, so they made them up, right? What a waste of time. And maybe this is trivial to you, but I think it's not, it's pretty widespread. It's not uncommon, I think. If you're a CFO and you're asked by someone based in Amsterdam or New York or Oslo for that matter, about some numbers you don't possess, I mean, you make some numbers. Yeah. If you're desperate enough. And you are desperate enough if you have like 15 investors demanding that from you. The final point here is that the development of this broader impact investing in ESG investing sectors, it's in a world where competition for capital is stiff. We see that from the people we want to charm and collect money from, they are very concerned about this. So we just have to comply. It seems something you wanted to add, Alessia? No? Okay. I think we are at the final slide here now. Yeah, sorry. I just touched on this. We believe it's good for clients, and that's the litmus test, right? That it has to be good for clients. Then it's good for business too. So we need to understand how to make an impact with client at the client level, and And that makes business sense to us. And we ask simple questions, what they find useful. I know there was a discussion headed by Lucia was it this morning? No, yesterday afternoon. And we make things very complicated. Whereas I think a US marketing expert, he simply asks, would you recommend this product to your friend or to your mother or whatever, right? So that we try also to be quite simplistic here. And the second point here is showing that that there is some impact here, is that is attracting investors. And we believe that's a very important factor in our case. I mean, it's simple psychology. If you make people look good, including your investors, they will like to be with you. I mean, and I'm not ridiculing that. I mean, they have their stakeholders too. There may be listed companies on the stock exchange. I mean, it's a legitimate thing. And if they look good for the right reasons, I don't see any moral problems with it either. Finally, we don't expect perfection. We know that we are working in imperfect settings and we enjoy working with companies that are less than perfect, as long as they don't have an attitude problem. We are not perfect ourselves, so no doubt about that. But in an imperfect situation, we might be able to contribute something together, right? But you need to be cautious with what you try to burden those institutions with. I think that is, if we have one thing we can be happy about at Abler Nordic, it is that the close relationship we had with many of our investees. And that is based on I think, respect for the situation they are. And they are in the field. They are fighting this fight day to day against huge, massive odds sometimes. So we are there to support and also to prod them sometimes. I mean, but in a gentle way. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. I think it was very insightful also to have the feedback at the asset owner level, and asset manager. But how to make life simple, how to make data collection realistic and useful. And I think, it echoes what Marion Allais said at the opening session. We don't have time to waste time in collecting data that is not useful. So we have to be straight to the point for making decision. You have the chance to be able to provide customized support, but what is the challenges between customized support and aggregated data? But little by little, we try to tend towards this. But making sure that data is valuable and useful. So I think it's interesting. Participants, do you have any questions, comments, experience? Yes. Maybe we need the microphone because it's also recorded, so you can have it live.
Hi,
and maybe you can present your.
Ian Best from Entrepreneur de Monde. I work in social performance management. It's a question for Arthur. When you were building the theory of change for your organization, particularly because it's a very big organization, who did you involve which stakeholders did you involve in the development of your theory of change? Did you go to your partners as well and to your field officers, like with such a big organization? Because we work with small organizations, so we try to get a good balance. Just interested in your perspective, who was involved in that process?
I think I should ask for the help of Alessia. She can elaborate a little on it, but we are a small organization. It's 24 people or something. So we cannot beat around the bush. We need to find simplistic solutions. But the principle was very important to us, and we were challenged. I can be transparent about that. It was some of our sponsors, some of our partners from the public sector in Norway. We have support over the years from from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, been very generous with us, and also the Norwegian aid agency, NORAD. And in order to please such institutions, we need to have a clear thoughts about theory of change. And that is an example of kind of useful prodding. The same goes for the DFIs, the two DFIs that are majority owners at Abler Nordic. They also require that. And that's fine. It helps straighten up our thinking. But you can elaborate a little, Alessia.
Yeah, so as Arthur mentioned, our head of impact, Luna Sendegård, is not here with us today, and she'd be able to give you the most articulate, detailed answer. But the long and short of it is we have canvassed a lot of input from our different companies. As Arthur mentioned, we're a relatively small pool, and we have very close working relationships. That said, we're in a process at the moment with Cerise and SPTF where we're really re-examining our theory of change. We are running a project where we have two of our investees, Baobab and Swasti Microfinance, participating, and we're collaborating on that project with Cerise+SPTF alongside two of our owners, the Norwegian DFI Nordfund and the Danish DFI IFU, with a couple of their investees. And part of the process is also putting the spotlight on ourselves and going, hang on, what about our theories of change? We can't very well examine Juhudi's theory of change or Baobab's and say, well, look, guys, we don't think you're really, achieving what you set out to achieve, with also putting that pressure on ourselves. So that's something that we are looking forward to our meeting in December, where we're digging into that a bit more, where we'll have Arthur and the various stakeholders from Nordfund and IFU attending, and Luna. But we see it's challenging as well, right? Because we're investing somewhat broadly, and how to articulate that in a way that's meaningful and then able to be measured is, it's very much a work in progress, I would say. I hope that answered your question.
Hi, I'm not sure if my observation is accurate, but my understanding is that microfinance is typically coupled with livelihoods interventions, where you would have entities that are supporting the livelihoods activities. So I'm surprised to see a lot of the impact measurement and impact-driven work being driven by the MFIs. Are you working with any entities that are actually supporting and driving the underlying livelihoods activities? And why is their voice necessarily absent here?
Maybe, David, you want to share how you work in partnership with all that you have talked about on the environmental side, for example, and
yeah, sure.
And maybe
sure.
if there are common framework of reporting with those partners also.
Yeah.
To partly answer your question.
Yeah, thank you. I would say, first of all, if you look at Juhudi Kilimo, 84% of our customers being in agriculture. First of all, when you talk of livelihoods, first of all, our customers are really hit in East Africa by climate change. And one thing that as Juhudi we purposed is that we are not just going to offer financial services. So we have the non-financial services side, whereby we offer a lot of training to our customers, not just on the financial literacy part, which we do, but we also support them in terms of succeeding them, to help them succeed in what they do. Basically, in agriculture, we are partnered with the county governments, people in agriculture, to train our customers on how to do smart agriculture, for example, in these times of climate change. We also have other partners who are coming in to support us now to offer even a new platform, on our app platform, whereby customers can be able to get even support from professionals. For example, in agriculture, in livestock, we are having an app, we have a platform whereby customers can get there and get help on what they do. So even in terms of market linkages, in terms of in terms of getting, even other service providers who may not be necessarily from the Juhudi side, or, we are trying to give them a platform that can really support them in their life, not necessarily their own platform. So basically it's partnerships. I think we have really been trying to do that, because you remember our core business, we are a financial institution, our core business, microfinance. So, and we may not have all the expertise in-house, but partnerships are really working for us to support them in their life roads.
Any other question, or we can summarize with some of the key takeaways? Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I think I'm learning a lot from it. I'm Melanie from CARD in the Philippines. So data can be overwhelming, and the data collection as a fact can be very expensive, So my question is, especially on social performance indicators, how will you know that you have enough samples to represent your populations if you have millions of clients? And second, how will you prioritize and filter your indicators for you to be able to have enough basis or reference for decision making? And lastly, I'd like to know if you have any idea on when to update your key indicators for you to get a chance, to have an updated monitoring of your outcomes. Thank you.
Maybe David, if you want to start a little bit on how you make sure that it's representative of your clients in terms of outcome data collection, and then I can complete. But maybe on the example that you have, on the data that you have collected, how is it representative of your portfolio of clients?
Okay, thank you. First of all, we get what we have done is that our impact measurement or outcomes measurement, we have tried as much as possible to depend on the data, the MIS data, as much as possible, so that when we collect the data during client appraisal or assessment, we collect as much data as possible on the customer. Maybe we collect data even on PPI, for example, the kind of roof they have, the kind of walls of the house, their source of water, the number of children they have. We collect all that data from the customer, and then also their incomes at that point. So when we now do the reports, actually at the point where we are now, and thank you so much to SPTF, we are able to get out an automated dashboard, right? Management can be able, at the click of the button, can have just a dashboard for SEPM. We call it SEPM, Social and Environmental Performance Management Dashboard. So somebody doesn't have to crunch the numbers. Yeah, so you can be able to, the system can be able to fetch the numbers from the MIS and give you a report on how well we are doing. So I would say that is because that's actual data actually from the system and from the collected from the customers. The second way now we try to validate that data is that every 3 years from our dashboard, we get an external person to do a survey. Actually, right now, we are doing a social rating right now by MFL. It's ongoing as I am here. Actually, MFL is in Juhudi as we talk in Nairobi, and the branches.
Trying to open all the folders.
Yes. So we are getting a validation from an external entity who is now doing, a survey, or who is doing an evaluation of the institution. So we do that every 2 years. So we are able to get, a different opinion by somebody else.
Yeah, thank you, David. And I think we hear a lot from your concrete experience, but in general, and in all those action group, working group, that data should not be in silo. So you will do a survey on a small sample as representative as possible, and you draw some conclusion, and then you can check on your MIS. We did that in Senegal, for example, recently. The organization have seen that young people are complaining more on the repayment burden compared to the global sample. So then they can check on their MIS data and segment the portfolio at risk by age to verify also on the full sample or on the full population of their clients, whether this trend that they have seen on the sample is also reflected on the MIS. And if this is the case, because they are in Senegal and they still want to work with young people, they will adapt the way they support the young instead of saying, we don't work with young people because the portfolio at risk is higher. So I think it's part of also making the different source of data talk to each other so that you can make then informed decision.
Something just to add something more. Again, I would say also for Juhudi, we are highly digitized. Again, courtesy of our investors, Abler Nordic, Incofin, Acumen, they've really supported us to digitize. So when it comes to data collection, it becomes very easy. So our officers have what I would call like a POS, a point of sale gadget. So when they get to the customer, getting that data at that point becomes very easy. No paper. So they just collect the information at the point they're meeting the customer in the villages. So again, it becomes very easy to collect that data, and it hits the system straight from where they're collecting the data. Yeah. And the same data again is used for loan appraisal. So again, there is a lot of correlations. For example, if for certain limits, the loan goes to credit and risk department. So there is again a lot of validation even of that data by other departments, not just the officer. It goes to another level, to the branch manager, goes to the credit and risk department. So there are a lot of checks and balances again to ensure that we get the right data.
Yeah. I think in terms of data quality, also having those different levels and making sure that the data that is collected, income collected to understand the capacity to repay, can also help you understand the profile of your clients. You have the income, you have the number of children, so you have the family structure, so you can have income per capita and compare with the national poverty line of Kenya and know exactly which percentage of your clients are above or below the national poverty line, or not necessarily fully reliable, but you have a good idea with the data that anyway your field officer are collecting, and that is verified by the internal audit because it's valuable information for repayment capacity and client protection. So I think it's also making sure that, as on the key points we said, need to, for data combination from different sources, not in silo, and using information that is needed anyway by the financial service provider, to inform also the trends and the impact and the board. Outcome data for informed decision from the field officer. And we heard yesterday that also collecting this data by the field officer make informed discussion between the client and the field officer. So they appreciate not just having figures, but also understanding who is the client up to the asset manager. We have discussed a little bit also the data visualization, how to finalize dashboard, and you have dashboard at the board level, or you report on targets at the asset manager level. Summarizing the information, aggregating the information to be able to make informed decision and draw some key lessons, see the trends, and etc. And what has been discussed also on the action group, not necessarily today, but it's also all the benchmarking that can be done at different levels. So when there are data from 60 decibel or from MFR or data from Findex, you can have some type of country benchmarks. If you say that 71% of your clients have access for the first time to a loan, you can compare to Findex data on what is the score at Kenya level, and are you doing more or less than the national data, for example, and you see whether it's even giving you more information than just your actual figure. But you can also compare with peers, you can compare by branch. You said that you are putting a little bit of competition among your branches so it's peer review or peer pressure among the branches. It's type of benchmarking, also the net promoter score by branches, by products, by gender, by level of poverty can also be interesting to take to make informed decisions. So Amelia, a last comment. I think we ran a little bit out of time, but
I'll be quick. I really liked what Arthur said, so I wanted to focus on that as another key takeaway, which is when you say we're not expecting perfection, we are looking for improvement. When we have done this research now in coordination with Abler Nordic and IFU, one of the pieces of feedback we heard from the financial service providers is sometimes they're afraid to measure their outcomes because what if the results are bad? And they think that the investors want to see how great they are, and that's how they secure their investments. So that message from the investors we're not doing this so you can show us how great you are, we're doing this so we can jointly work on improvement, I think is key to getting more accurate information, because we did hear from several that there is that fear that what if I measure this well and then it doesn't look good. So it's really refreshing to hear that. And I think that would be a key takeaway for me for the investor side, is to be sure you're communicating that to your investees. So bravo for already doing it.
Okay, so thank you very much, David and Arthur, for this very depth discussion on where do we stand and where we can go on outcomes management. So let's continue on the journey. Thank you for the participants, and we still have outcome discussion to come. So.